Okay, Ben. So this is a Megamix corner from your multidodecahedron. This is a Barylic edge from your multidodecahedron, and this is another Megamix corner. And so I went to go test the interaction to see how it's progressing in the tumbler. And I haven't done this yet. I should have, but I didn't. When I stick this Barylic edge in with this Megamix corner, that's a very tight interaction between those two pieces. And if you see I shake it here, they're not going to come apart. It's relatively tight, and there's a lot of friction between the two. Now I've seen, this is definitely a bad print. This is the indication of a bad print. I've seen other bad prints that were just so much worse than this that, like, well, in comparison, this would be a good print. But compared to my multidodecahedron, it's definitely a bad print. And it actually has to do with see the wing on this, the wings on this Barylic edge. One of these wings is either misshapen or thicker, or there's something about it that causes it to interact with these corners differently. So let me demonstrate. There, that's relatively loose, okay? And that is relatively tight. And so if I try to pull these apart, you'll see that the one always comes undone and just sticks on this. But watch, if I turn this around, see? And like if I try to move these back and forth, notice it's this one that moves back and forth and not that one. Like no matter, like if I really force it, I can try and get it, but this one just is really easy, and this one's not easy at all. Now compare that to one of my Barylic edges. Now I'm not saying that this corner is good. I haven't compared this corner to one of my corners. As far as I know, this corner is probably also bad, but it's not as bad as the Barylic edge. So that's pretty loose, and that's pretty loose. So now watch, if I, like, it'll just fall right out. And so if I pull those apart, sometimes I can just sort of shake this and it'll come undone. And if I move these back and forth, I can make either one come undone really easily. See that? Now compare that to yours. That's the tight side, that's the loose side. No amount of shaking is going to undo these pieces. That's a relatively tight interaction. The tumbler will change that interaction a little bit, but based on previous experience, to adjust the interaction this much would probably take a minimum of 20 days in the tumbler. And I'm not really sure how the rest of the part will hold up, like these wire pieces. I'm not really sure how well it'll hold up 20 days into a tumbler. So I'm willing to tumble it for a really long time. And then if it looks like the wire is wearing down too bad, or you know, the tip is starting to wear, because my concern is because this tip sticks out so much and the things that stick out wear faster, my concern is that tip will wear down so much that you'll end up with two wires that can just separate because the tip will be worn right off of them before that surface wears down. But I'm not sure. And I know you can't, let me see if I can get my Barylic edge back in this thing. Okay, that, even though it's got, even though it's got two Megamix corners really pushing on it, it's still got this very simple, you know, this back and forth is very simple. I mean, even with this click mechanism, there's a click mechanism on these Megamix corners. You see that dip in right there? And there's a bump out on this thing. And so when they're pushed together, they click together, and that's in an attempt to keep the Barylic layer aligned with the Megamix layer. Even with the click mechanism, my edge goes back and forth really easily. And your edge, so that's the good side, and that's the bad side. It's just, it's not going to go back and forth. Like, look, it literally like moves the corner with it. So I personally don't think that this print will ever turn as well as mine will. And I'm not sure how much the tumbler will change the tolerances. I mean, I've had a puzzle in a tumbler that was much worse than print than this for like literally like 60 days. And it has gotten, that print is now at the point that it is acting like this one after around 60 days. And I don't know how much longer it has, so I can't really give you much of a time estimate other than I think it's going to be at least 20 days in the tumbler before this is fixed. And I'm not really sure what will happen to the rest of the pieces. So yeah, this is definitely a bad print. It has all of the hallmarks of a bad print. I've looked at a couple different bad prints, and this is what they look like.